This mug is very fitting because I just woke up from a nap and I'm barely awake. Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is the start of another vlog. I'm so tired. I have had the longest week of my life. There was so much going on. I had 3 tests and I was working 2 shows, Choir of Man, but I've survived. Barely though. Yesterday was my last test of the week and I had one Monday, but I came back here and I took a nap and then I did nothing and then I went to sleep, and then today I've done basically nothing but study for my test on Monday and I took a nap and it ended up being a really long nap and I haven't woken up from it, and so I made some tea. Hopefully that'll wake me up from it because I don't think I should have coffee this late in the day. Yeah, we're okay. We're okay over here. But 2 things. First one is I finished O'Keeffe Days in a Life by C.S. Merrill. It was beautiful. It was like reading the sequel to Weekends with O'Keeffe. It was almost like this was the spark notes for Weekends with O'Keeffe, and don't take that in like a negative way, but it's like a lot of the stuff that I read more in detail that happened in Weekends with O'Keeffe, she would write a poem about in here. So it's like I just had little flashes of Weekends with O'Keeffe, which I really enjoy. So I really like how they kind of go together. So if you read one of them, if I somehow convince you to read either Weekends with O'Keeffe or Days in a Life, then you need to read the other one because they just really go well together, and I really like that. Also, I discovered in this book that whoever owned it last went to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum and they left their ticket in here, and it is dated October 31st, 1997. So I wasn't even born. This person decided to go to the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum on Halloween. So this is super cool. I really want to go back to the museum because I feel like I'd appreciate it so much more now that I just like love Georgia O'Keeffe. Like I enjoyed it when we went. It was a lot of fun with my family and with B's family and all of them, but I want to go back. I started The Queens of Finburn. I'm still in the first story, but I'm loving it. I'm liking that I'm getting a little bit more of Kim Blake's just world and characters and writing style because it's so atmospheric. Some people have said that you should read this before Two Dark Reigns, and I'm kind of seeing how that could be a thing, but I read Two Dark Reigns before I'm reading this, so I feel like you can go either way and it's fine. But I do recommend reading this. I'm again only in the first one, but it already has kind of like an insight into how the and all that kind of thing, which is really interesting to see, and I'm loving it. I'm literally on page what, 37? 32. I was close, but I'm loving it and I recommend it. Yeah, that's everything. I'm just having breakfast in bed, about to dive into more studying, and y'all, my mom's the best. Look at this email I just got. She knew I had a hard week, and look, I can now go buy a book. I'm so happy. I should be studying, but instead I'm watching The Office, doing blackout poetry, drinking coffee out of this mug, which I made last year, and it's the greatest. Not gonna lie. So I am, to quote witty novels, boo-boo the fool. I ordered this book off of Amazon. It's called The Forgetting Tree, a Rememory by Ray Paris. And it sounded really good, and the author's gonna be at the Texas Book Festival, and I'm gonna be at the Texas Book Festival. So I was like, this sounds good. I'll get it. I'll read it beforehand. Then if I like it, I'll go get it signed. If not, no harm done. Well, I forgot to change my address. So it went to my home and not here where I am in my apartment. I'll still be able to get it this next weekend because my brother and I are going down to South Texas to go hunting, and so I'm gonna have him bring it there. But it's just... Anyway, in other news, I finished the first short story in Queens of Finburn and I loved it. It was so good. It kind of went back in all of the queens' lives from like before their birth and their mother, and then to just each of them going on to their own home, them being separated. Loved it. It was so good. And because I feel like it really adds to the story. Like it's the kind of thing that if you don't ever read it and you read the rest of the trilogy, you'd be fine. But it does add to it when you do read it. It's not just like a random thing that's like, oh, like it's cute, but like... But this one gives you a better understanding. So I'm on the next one. It's about my arm's getting tired, hang on. It's about the Oracle Queen. Literally just started it, so I can't really tell you about it yet. But I'm excited because she gets talked about so much. So I'm gonna hopefully finish this either, probably not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Literally, I got back from my test and I was just chilling on my bed watching YouTube videos. And I woke up like 2 hours later. And now there's like a scratch in my throat. And I literally think that that week, last week, has made me sick. There were some days where I'd leave my house at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't get back until midnight or 1. It was just a lot. Genuinely the longest week of my college life thus far. Like after that week, I feel like I can kind of take any week. Knocking on wood. God, it's over. Does anyone else have a problem with their Goodreads where on your phone it shows you the books you've read in the order you've read them and all of the books you've read in the order you've read them, but then when you go online it doesn't? And like, so if you look, The Atomical Shape of the Heart is completely missing, and A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson is down here, even though it still says that I read it. After that one, I'm so confused. It does this all the time. Like, it's never not done this. And I don't get it. Also, follow me on Goodreads. Shameless plug. Also, in regards to my Goodreads, one of my goals for this year was to write more reviews on Goodreads. And for a while there, I was doing horrible at it. But then I realized that I should just not bother trying to do like a real in-depth, you know, eloquent kind of review, because no, too stressful, honestly, just too stressful. So what I do is I just have a couple of sentences, a quick, you can't see that at all, but a quick explanation of what I thought about the book, and then that's it. So then I post a review. It's very short and sweet, but it still gets my feelings across, and I'm completing my goal. I finished The Queens of Finburn last night. It was fantastic, honestly. It was so good. So the first short story, there's 2 of them. The first short story kind of follows our 3 queens and their birth and a little bit with their mother, and then kind of them adapting to their new homes and to their powers. It was just great because it was like a nice little inside dip into their lives, and it's the kind of thing that, like, if you never read it, you'd be fine never having read it, but it does add something to the story when you have. But it doesn't feel like it's added like an afterthought. It feels like it's always been that way, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't feel like she just wrote this to get a little moolah. Like, it feels like this is actually part of the story. And the second story killed me. It's about the Oracle Queen that we keep hearing about, you know, the one that's the whole reason they they drown Oracle Queens, and it wrecked me for life. Just wow, that's all I can say. And I feel like that really added something to the story, and I loved it. It was great. Highly enjoyed. Recommend, especially if you're reading the series. And so then yesterday I also started Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I don't think I've mentioned this in the vlog. I mentioned it in my wrap up in TBR, but V.E. Schwab is going to be at the Texas Book Festival. I've been meaning to read a V.E. Schwab book for a while now. I bought this one when I was in New York, and so now I might as well just start it. So I'm literally 2 chapters in, not very far, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. So I just filmed a huge clip and it wasn't recording the entire time. Oh my gosh. Anyway, hello, I'm in my bed. It's been a hot minute. I didn't film anything this past weekend and like the past couple of days. I've just been tired and stressed, and then I was out of town and there wasn't really anything to film. I was just hunting. I didn't get anything and there was nothing to film, so I didn't film. That's what I said there. Okay, now on to the next thing I had said. Oh my goodness, I have to redo this whole thing. You know, the most annoying part about this is I was actually liking the way I was sounding, and I'm gonna have to try and recreate that, and it's always a struggle. Anyway, reading update. I am on page 86. of Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I am enjoying it. I'm not to an absolute enamorment yet. Is enamorment a word? I need to look up if that's a word, because I say that quite a bit, but I don't know if it's an actual word. I'm not in the absolutely love it area yet, but I am enjoying it so far. I'm loving the writing style. I'm very interested in where this is going to go, because everyone says this is like super dark, and it's already like, what's going on and why am I so intrigued and invested in it? I feel like I'm not absolutely loving it yet, partly because I've been reading it very sporadically and in short little bursts, and I haven't gotten to just like sit down and dive into it, which kind of works because the chapters are short and they cut off a lot, but also it doesn't work that well sometimes because it does a lot of jumping from like 10 years ago to 2 years ago or 2 days ago to present day, and so sometimes it's a bit confusing to like jump back in and figure out, okay, wait, where are we in the timeline of this? But I am really liking it so far. One of the main characters, Victor, does blackout poetry. I do blackout poetry, and I really liked when I discovered that that's what he was doing in the beginning of the book. So I'm thinking if I finish this and really like it and want to buy like the pretty editions and get Vengeful, that's the second one, yeah, and get them in the pretty editions, since this one doesn't have a matching cover for Vengeful, I could make this be my next blackout poetry book. I'd have to finish my other one though, and I'm not quite halfway through with it yet, so it would be a hot minute before it happens. But I think that'd be really cool. I can't catch a break. My memory card ran out of space and I had to go grab a new one. I don't know where it cut off. The next book I got, we're gonna kind of go in chronological order. There's an art gallery in downtown Bryan called Seed Gallery, I believe is the name, and they sell books there because one of their old patrons died and left them 40,000 books, and so they're like, let's just open a bookstore. It's fantastic. I love it. And I got this book there, which is called The Feather Merchants and Other Tales of the Fools of Clem. And the whole reason I picked this sucker up is because of this little, this is quality filming, is because of this little intro paragraph in their description. And I'm going to read it to you right now. So it says, in the town of Clem, by the way, I think it's pronounced Clem. It might be Chelm. It's probably actually Chelm. I don't know. I'm just saying you know, it's not Clem because the E and the L are mixed up. I'm still saying Clem. Anyway, in the town of Clem, 7 and 7 are 11. It's a matter of local logic, and you can find the proof of it on page 69. And the whole little spiel is kind of like that, and so I'm excited. I'm intrigued. It's going to be a short and fast read. I'm hoping to get to it soon. Pumped. That's what I am. I'm pumped. Did I mention I'm doing a bit of a haul? I don't think I did that in this third try technically now, but this is like kind of a haul. The final book I have and the final update with this lovely angle. So the podcast I just mentioned, what should I read next? Editing Hannah here to tell you that the reason I say the podcast I just mentioned when I didn't just mention a podcast is because that clip was much longer than what you are seeing, and that made the vlog really long, and I just wasn't in the mood to post a really long vlog, so I shortened it a bit. What I cut out, it wasn't important at all, so like, carry on. It's done by a woman named Anne Bogle, and she also has a blog called Modern Mrs. Darcy. She wrote a book. She's actually her second book, I'm pretty sure. But it's called I'd Rather Be Reading: The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life. And my mom and I both listened to this podcast, and she had some kind of pre-order thing, and when I listened to the podcast where she mentioned it, I texted my mom and was like, hey, we should do this. And she texted back and was like, I've already done it, and I was debating on whether to tell you and just give it to you or save it for your Christmas present, but since I asked, I got it early, so thanks, Mom. Anyway, I don't really know what exactly she talks about in this, but it's gonna be the delights and dilemmas of reading. Oh, and she was in Austin, and I didn't get to go, but my mom went. And first of all, oh, I dropped it. One of the signing deals was there's a book plate. Then when Mom went to Austin to see her, she got it signed for me. So I have it signed. And then the thing I dropped was we also got a sticker. I don't have room for stickers is my problem. I love them, but I've run out of room. So that's this clip. Hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna go to school now. Good morning. Today is Thursday. This vlog is just spread out between what, like 2 weeks now? Yikes. I am currently on page 302 of Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I'm loving it so much. Like I said, the start was pretty slow for me, but then, and I don't know at what point it picked up, but it picked up at one point. Actually, I do remember when it picked up. I was watching someone's video, and they were talking about how they didn't love it at first, but then when they heard V.E. Schwab talk about it, she said how toxic masculinity is like her basis for the characters and like what it does in regards to their actions and stuff, and I found that really interesting. So then I had a kind of a new outlook when I was reading it, and then it was like, oh, I don't know why that suddenly made it so good, but it suddenly made it so good. The characters in here, like their mentality and their attitudes, make me think of Victor Frankenstein from Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, like a lot, like that mad scientist kind of vibe. And then you take that and you add in the cunningness of Dracula from Dracula by Bram Stoker, and like that's who these characters are. So I feel like this is like a modern gothic sci-fi fiction book. I think part of the reason I'm loving it so much now is because it makes me think of Frankenstein, and I love Frankenstein, and that like mad scientist, morally weird character is just very intriguing to read about, and especially when sometimes you like feel bad for them or actually feel for them, and you're just almost confused with yourself because you're like, I shouldn't be thinking, oh, that was sweet, because this person's pretty evil. I also realized I haven't shown y'all my Yzma costume yet, so here is a picture of me and my friend as Yzma and Kronk. Here's the picture we were trying to recreate there. Here's a close-up of me, and I have long fake lashes. I got these spiderweb ones and I cut the webby part off, so they're just like the long straight ones. Very proud of that costume. Everyone said they didn't recognize me, and everyone said my costume was the best, so I felt very happy, especially after how much work I put into it. So I have finished Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I loved it. It was beautiful. I feel like I can't say I loved the characters, but I kind of did love the characters. I just loved reading about them because they were so interesting. Like, I don't exactly love them, but I love reading about them because it's just like, you never really know what they're gonna do. But it was such a dark book, but I loved it. Like, I think I mentioned this earlier, but it reads a lot like a Frankenstein with a little bit of a Dracula in there. Like, it reads like a classic gothic sci-fi kind of book, which I love, so I loved. Also, Mitch and Sydney's relationship is just too cute. I loved it. I loved it. It was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. And so I've ordered both Vicious and Vengeful, but I ordered the UK covers because I just like them better, and so I'm hoping they'll get in before the book fest. They should, just barely. But so what I've started doing with this one is I do blackout poetry, as I mentioned before, but sometimes I feel like I don't have the time to like sit down and do it because I like to, not all out's not quite the right word, but like I like to make sure it looks real pretty, you know? But it's like a real like stress reliever for me, so then if I feel like I don't have time, then like I don't get that stress relief, and it's just, it can be bad. So what I'm doing with this one is, since Victor does blackout poetry, it just seemed to make sense that I would start doing blackout poetry. And what I'm doing with this one is I'm only doing that like straight line kind of thing, like that. So this one's only going to be just straight black lines. Like, I'm not gonna do any kind of drawing or whatever with it. It's just gonna be lines. And so then I'll still get that like stress relief of doing the poetry. Then I feel like I have time to do it because I just need to sit down and find words that I like. So I'm excited. And I'm gonna get her to sign it, which can't wait. So I was going to start The Forgetting Tree, I Just Hit Myself in the Face, by Ray Paris, but at my library I got The Which Way Tree. I don't know who this is by. I can't read her name, it's all covered, but this author is also going to be at the book festival, and when I got it, it just kind of called to me. So I put aside The Forgetting Tree. Hopefully I'll still get to it before the book fest, but I'm reading this one right now. I'm not very far into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not loving it, but I'm definitely interested, like very interested. It's really interesting the way it's being told right now, because the first chapter, I guess you'd call it, was written like, I don't know what the technical term is, but like they're in a courtroom, and so the witness is like telling his side and the judge is asking, and the scribe is writing everything down, and so it was like written like that. So we're not like into the plot yet, and so I don't know what's happening yet exactly, but I'm definitely interested. Like, it's very intriguing. I'm loving the way it's written so far. The atmosphere of the Wild West, I'm enjoying it. So I think I'm gonna end this now. I think it's going to be a fairly long one. Not sure. I haven't started editing this yet. I probably need to. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all again in another one soon.